he was happy. I could tell by off that. So
Where'd you get
time.
$20 from?
Oh, me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I had money. I was working. I was a paper boy since I was 12. So
okay.
yeah, I had money.
Well, if you owe something,
They're like, I'm Robin Hood, just steal from the rich.
you know.
Yeah. So time. A year and a half goes on. Now we're going into high school, and we're going into, I think it was our sophomore year. We're going into 10th grade, and we get news. We're trying this basketball season. We're tryouts, and he asked me if he should go out for the team. I said, I know he's not gonna make it, but I'm like, hey, go ahead and go. No, I wasn't telling him don't go because you're not good enough. You gotta tell him. I was like, okay, in that situation. But see, that's the thing. There's a difference between friends. My friends that are my friends. If they were trying out with me, it's not a you might not make the team. We're gonna make the team. But with him, it was I had to keep it real. I'm like, you might not make it, but I seen he was inspired to still want to go.
Exactly.
So the first day of tryouts, he came, really didn't get on the court, anything like that. Second day, he had to miss because his father had died. He died from HIV. Yeah,
wow.
sad.
Why are you whispering that?
Because it's not. I mean, it's kind of something.
They can't hear you though.
Well, his father passed away from HIV. Yeah, so his father.
He was like, I didn't want them to know.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? His father passed away from HIV, and he just was broken down. I noticed he wasn't in school. The story got around the town. Everything
So the
that
father
happened.
left the mother because he was a
He
homosexual?
was homosexual. That's why. Why he ended up leaving. So it was a.
Did she get AIDS or HIV?
She's still living to this day. So I mean, I don't know how how that worked out.
That's how.
Yeah, I know it's how.
usually-
Yeah. So I don't know how it worked out, but I had.
There was protection before.
Yeah.
And when he left, there wasn't.
That's what it could have been. But so I knew what was going on, and I seen our roster because we're the team. Our 5 is the team, but whoever the spots are, it doesn't matter. So I'm like, okay, get rid of him, coach, and give him a spot because he just lost his father. This kid is actually smart because he has an 88 average overall. So he wasn't a dummy, and that's why
Right.
But
like
this is sports.
this is sports. Yes.
Who cares that his father passed away and we talking about fielding a basketball
You don't understand.
team
This kid
that's
is the
gonna
most
win the championship.
But it don't matter
and
because
you
those
want
kids
to
that are
give
at the end
him
of
a
the bench,
spot
you gotta understand.
because his daddy passed away.
Yes, but you got
Yes.
you got
Give him
you got
some
to
time.
yes, you have to understand the bench boys aren't playing regardless, so it doesn't matter who's those last 5 seats, right?
Right.
But for
Make
him
feel
making the team,
Being a part of something.
that after everything he went
Yes,
through, would have made
being
him
a
feel
part of
so much
something.
Well,
better.
what
And
happens if you get injured? Then they got to bring in the bench boy.
we got
You got a whole line
and now
Listen.
I
don't get injured
boy
when I got.
that never
I did get
got
injured
on
my
the
senior.
court.
Listen, I did get injured my
It
senior year.
happens.
I did get injured my senior year, and I
pushed
played. I
Halil
don't know if I
down,
can say
she
this
got
on
injured.
live,
So
but
it
yeah,
happens.
I played in a championship game for our region, and I had a concussion and a broken nose from the previous sectional game before. I was technically not cleared by the doctor, so we could get stripped of that title at any time. But that's on the point of me playing injured. That's
Now
the
that
only
he's made
time.
it
Thank you for
public.
sharing.
That's the only time I
Right.
played injured. But the moral of the story is that he got that chance. The coach let him come. The next day at tryouts, when he found out he was still going to be able to play and stuff, he went super hard. He wasn't the best on the court, but his work ethic, his
Everything
spirit,
else,
everything
yeah.
like that. And then after, when we did the cuts, he was the last person name called. When they were like, if you made it, come over here. But just to see him break down and start crying and thanking me and stuff like that and thanking my friend, it just was an amazing feeling for me because I felt like, wow, I did something. Now, I might have changed his life in a way where
Absolutely.
there's probably so many things that he probably felt he couldn't have done, but all he needed was that one shot, and
then
he
y'all
did it.
lost
And
the championship because of him.
they actually won. We won. No, they didn't play the whole year. Look, they didn't play the whole year.
But they wore a jersey
They won.
when y'all
Listen,
celebrated.
He's got a
celebrated.
jacket. He's got a jacket.
Right.
He can go.
He can say
if
he
he
on
wants
the
to go
championship team.
to see his dad at the funeral. He can, or I mean not the funeral, at the graveyard. He can go and say, "Dad, this is what I did." You know what I'm saying? Inspire of you. You know, stuff. So it's just, it was a touching story for me. That's what I like to share with a lot
That's
of people.
awesome.
Just something good that I did.
Yeah, that is
Would you
good.
like a tissue?
Nah, I don't need a tissue,
You
but
good? You
yeah,
sure?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Nah. That was,
He's like, wait,
we talking bullying.
do I got a book in my nose or
you know.
something? I know.
I am a Scorpio and I'm proud of it. I feel hard, I love hard, I hit hard.
Oh, you hit hard. Yeah, we heard that. Yeah, we heard that part.
And then I break down.
But I make
Yeah,
you laugh
take a
and I
punch.
love everything I do is through love. Everything. So
That's
I
good.
just
That's good.
So let me ask you a question then.
Yes, sir.
When was your first
Kiss?
bullying
What?
experience? Your first bullying
Bullying
experience when you like
Oh, I thought he said
you
I can
saw
tell you
that
about
you
the
could
time he
change
got
the
beat up.
situation. No, I want to hear that. Say that.
I can tell you
Say
about the
that,
time
okay.
he got beat up,
Yeah,
not me.
I definitely want to hear
It's
about
a
that.
lie.
Was there a time in your life though that you were put in a situation where you seen a kid being bullied or going through a rough time in his life, but you had the chance to change it and you did it instead of looking over it?
Absolutely.
You did.
Because I was positioned to be able to do that. A lot of times people aren't positioned,
Right.
and then you now stand up for somebody who's getting bullied, and then you end up getting bullied.
Yes.
Is your payback.
Yeah.
But if you're in a position where you're big, you're strong, you're respected, you have a certain level of leadership, and you can step in and say,
And
this ain't
respect it.
happening, and you don't have to worry about any
That's
whatever back on you,
repercussions,
repercussions on
backlash.
you. I was that dude.
Yeah.
So I was the straight A student. I was the epitome of the student athlete. I was captain of the football team, all that other stuff. So when I saw injustices, which I consider bullying is occurring, I was that person that stepped in and said, we're not doing this today.
Yeah, but
So-
people
That's
look at
fair.
me like I'm crazy because I do that. One of my close females, they were getting into it with a guy, and he pushed her, so I squared up with him. But you know, dang, I know that
And then
sounds
she
crazy.
and then she
Can I-
woke up.
Yeah. See, listen. Here's the thing. Listen.
A
From,
week
listen.
later.
Listen. This is one thing
But
I want to
it's-
touch on
But
with
you
that.
have to be safe though.
Yeah, you
But
do.
it
You have to be
showed him.
careful.
I bet he
You
has.
have to.
I bet he got
Yeah,
another
but,
thing.
but you
like,
gotta be safe.
know, I
You
know,
don't want
and
to
that's
put
what I was about to
yourself
say.
in
I
harm's
gotta-
way because
gotta do
he
better.
could have roared back and
Absolutely.
put you
I
into
do it
another
better,
zip
though.
code, and
Yeah.
now you
That's-
really didn't help anything.
That's domestic violence. That's a whole.
I know,
Yeah.
but it's like
domestic violence
I'm
is
like-
tough. It's tough.
I'm
It's tough.
Everything that has something to do with empowerment, I'm for. So
Mm-hmm.
if I see anybody being belittled or just, made feel any less than what they are, I cannot help but to get myself involved.
But
And I
there's
know-
various ways to get involved.
Right.
That's
One
what I'm
way
learning.
is jump in and
Right.
say, if you want to pick on somebody, pick on me.
Right.
No, I just bust
step,
your windows.
step
This-
2 is
Oh,
called an authority figure, principal,
Right.
a parent, an adult. Step number 3, call 911. So depending upon
I'm glad
what
you know
is
that was step
happening,
number 3.
Those
you
are
know.
backwards. I'm gonna be honest
No,
with you.
it's
Those
not,
steps are backwards.
because
No,
I
let me
called the
tell you.
police And I had to handle a man 3 times my height.
And let me tell you, the first mistake,
police help
you didn't need to be in a position to handle that man. That's 6'3". You know why? Because what he said last, call the
shoot
police. You don't need to put yourself in that
because of
position.
that.
Right.
Because
now,
listen,
now if
Absolutely.
it was somebody that was 2 feet tall and you could handle them,
Kick 'em.
and
My phone
you
was
step
dead.
up and
Like, I was
Exactly.
yelling
based
for other
upon the
people to
bass
call the
in your
police.
voice,
People were
you can
around.
shut it down.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't need to call 911.
Like,
don't.
call the police,
Nah.
call the
So it
police.
all
Well,
depends
You don't-
upon who is bullying and what the
Right.
situation
you
is.
don't, but it depends
Yeah.
if we're talking bullying or we're talking domestic violence. I thought we were talking domestic violence. I'm saying in her case as a girl, don't challenge a guy
But
if a guy is
because-
already
Right.
put.
It
If you
was a
see him
mix
hit a
of-
girl already,
It was
It was
don't
domestic
walk away.
violence and it was bullying at the same time because I jumped into the situation. It was a guy who I knew and a female who I knew, and they knew each other through me. So when they started getting into it, I felt the need to intervene. When I was trying to intervene in a calm way, it was not working because he's huge. And when I see you aggressing on my friend
Yeah.
in a aggressive manner, it's time to act. My phone was dead. She don't have her phone because her phone's in her purse is in his hand. So I'm like, call the police, somebody, anybody. But I got a bottle in my hand. Like, listen, I don't want to kill you or hurt you, but like, can you stop?
Please.
I understand.
Because I don't
understand.
want to go to jail.
I understand. I get what
just
you.
hit the window.
There's
So
some
in
In
situations.
that moment, that's
Assault.
what you had to do. Like,
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
it's what do you
Attempted
call it?
murder.
No,
Yeah.
when you mess up somebody's
Self-defense.
vehicle.
Oh, vandalism.
Vandalism.
Yeah.
So now you don't get the assault charge, you get the
Yeah, the
vandalism,
vandalism
charge.
No,
I actually,
called the police
I
and
had
they
a
didn't help me. They
but there
didn't even
was,
try to wait to see if he left, and it's my house.
I had a neighbor one time. She was pregnant, and I heard her screaming in the front yard, and I excited because I thought, she was in labor. I actually went out, and the baby's father was beating her. So, yes, I went stone cold crazy, but it was to get her
died in
out
my
of
lungs.
harm's way.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was my first thing, was to get her out of the way. I know he wasn't going anywhere. So once I got her pulled into my house, then I called the police, but then I went outside.
Hello.
So it was, did I need to go back out?
I know we should use
So-
wisdom.
When it comes to these situations, and you got to be very careful, because I grew up around this 24/7. I lived in an apartment building. We were the middle apartment. There was a top and a bottom. Out of my maybe 8 years living there, there was maybe 6 families. All 6 of those families that lived there were all domestic violence cases, and that's what I had to hear as a kid growing up. My father told me a story as to why, if it's a relationship, like if me and her are dating, you don't step in to like a relationship,
Right.
domestic violence, because me and her are gonna fight.
But y'all gonna
But
get
9
right back
times out of
together.
10, at the end of the day, we're gonna get back together.
Exactly.
But you know who's
Absolutely.
not gonna be forgiven for stepping in? You.
Right.
And that's how you lose a
Touch me
relationship.
again.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But that's
No, I'm just
exactly,
messing.
exactly how it could go. So
Did they not tell you my name?
yeah, exactly.
My name is
But-
Guns for a
There
reason.
you go. But that's how, like, when he told me that is when I knew it was real,
Right.
because it was his own sister in the case that was
Yeah.
being beaten by her boyfriend. Him and his brother, her brother too, went over there and put a whooping on dude. Do you know she pulled a gun on her own brothers
I
for
believe it.
beating
Absolutely.
her the
Her
dude?
husband.
And
Yeah.
and that was when the last
I
time
believe it.
my dad said it's over. Like,
Never
you're on
again.
your own. I never will be back here again. And guess what? That kept going on year after year after year
Yes,
until
absolutely.
he finally almost killed her, put her in the hospital, and he got arrested and went to jail. But that was just one
Right.
case. My first case of actually going and trying to handle it firsthand on, it was my first and last time doing it. There was a girl downstairs. She was maybe 18 years old. She was dating an older dude. I was about 14. I'm in like 8th grade. So I kind of got a sense of, what's going on in life. And all I hear all day is pots and pans being thrown, stuff being thrown. They got a newborn baby and everything like that. And I just hear her screaming, yelling. I hear her like him throwing her around. I'm just like, Dad, we got to do something. I can't sit here and listen to it because it's just killing me. She's a beautiful girl, like beautiful. I ended up talking to her. Like, listen, that's besides
the motivation.
That's besides it was kind of my motivation. I'm like, why is this girl so beautiful being treated like that? That was my
Shit, ain't
motivation.
nothing wrong
So
with
me and my dad
What if
went.
she was ugly?
Yeah.
Beat her again.
No.
Beat her again.
No, I might have just not made the exact motive. Okay, so there you go. Yeah, But she was another example for taking the guy right back, because we called the police. He got arrested, went to jail for maybe a month because he had some other charges. Got out of jail. Do you know where he was back the first day?
Absolutely.
And then it just starts again, and then we're just like, we hearing it, we're watching the game, we're just hearing screaming downstairs. We can't do nothing. Like, it's just
Right.
like,
You
and this is,
probation, you call the
and
cops again.
yes, and this is to all my women, and I'm gonna say guys too, because guys can be abused in domestic violence.
Yes,
But
they can.
to-
Yes, they can.
to anybody out there that's being abused, walk away and leave the situation. Every
Run
time
away
you stay, you're
if you have
hurting
to.
yourself, and you're gonna keep hurting yourself over and over
Absolutely.
again. Domestic violence
Absolutely.
is nothing to play with. I just want to say that.
Yeah.
Right. You're absolutely worth
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
than anything. I've counseled some women that have gone through domestic violence, and I honestly, my very first official, like, I had, my first boyfriend was the paper boy, but that's because he dropped paper off and gave me a lollipop. That was, like I was a little kid, like, oh, my boyfriend coming, mommy, I gotta go get the paper. No, but my first official.
you so fast.
Right. I'm like, mommy, fix my hair.
Give me a curl right here.
And wait, I had them 2 ponytails on the side and this one
With
dangle
that one
right there.
curl. Oh,
That one
lips.
ponytail, and I make sure when I ran this swing, But when I got my first official boyfriend, we were together for about 3 years, and one day, just out of the blue, out of nowhere, I got my butt handed to me. Just out, like, our disagreements were conversational. There was never any heated battles or anything like that. But it was for no reason at all. It was just in the dark. Like, I literally got tackled in the back walking into the house, and the house was pitch black.
Wow.
And that was it. And I'm talking about beat like a Tina Turner style. And the first thing I did, I can tell you from being in a domestic violence situation, I went and got my stuff. I was like, I'm out. But I had no phone. This was before cell phones. I had no car. I had no true friends that I could like, hey, come and get me, or
help
anything
me
like
out.
that.
Yeah.
Right.
I was young, and I was not near absolutely any family.
Yeah, I'm about to say, you
So-
must ain't have no family, because that's
I
that
had
call,
none.
bro. I need you to come.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey,
And I
we
had
Yeah.
none. And I will tell you, on top of all of that, he worked in law enforcement. So all of my options of calling the police, filing, no reports were found. I mean, it was constantly one thing after another. So I can say for a fact that it's not that where I wanted to be. But I also realized that I had to be tactful in how I was able to escape.
Go for it, yeah.
We didn't have a washer and dryer. And I would take things, and I had one girlfriend that I worked with, and he, I don't know when he went crazy. I firmly to this day believe that he later on got involved in drugs, which would turn him so drastically.
Exactly.
I worked at the mall, and I looked up one day, and he was across the hall at another store, and I was like, hey, what are you doing? He's like, I work here now. Like, he became stalker. Like, everywhere I went.
He got a job across from you.
Got a job.
Oh, I'm glad you
his
left.
part-time, his part-time was across, you know, whenever I worked. I didn't have a car, wasn't allowed to get a car, didn't have money to get a car. I worked for like, I needed him. We talk about young. I needed him to co-sign, you know, my little $8-9 an hour wasn't going to suffice.
But you want to be out on your own.
Right, but I was like, I need to leave this situation. And I just remember my plan was I would do laundry, and I would tell my girlfriend, last dryer on the right. Like, when she knew when I was going to do laundry, and he would take me and drop me off and come and pick me up. But I would just started leaving things in the dryer until I had enough just to get away. There was one time I went to work, he dropped me off. She went, I didn't have work. I went straight to the bus station. She took me straight to the bus station. We were going from Pine Bluff, Louisiana to, or Pine Bluff, Arkansas to Fort Polk, Louisiana. On the bus, there's always a stop. Do y'all know that by the time the bus, he was there?
No, he was not.
He knew that I was not at work, and he drove straight there. So he literally, the only place I was.
I said, oh my goodness.
That's what you do. He knew I would go to my family. He knew that was the only place. So when I got off the bus, he was parked right there in front of it. He knew that was the only place that I would go. And then the final straw, I just called my dad one day. I was like, I need you to come and get me now. And my dad and the soldier came in the U-Haul, packed me up, and we left. And that was, you know, how I got away. So.
Let me see, your dad was a soldier? And you ain't call your dad not one time that all this was
My father, I honestly would have lost his mind and his career.
Oh, he'd have killed it.
And he had,
I understand.
You don't mess with his babies,
I got you.
You know,
that's,
like
that's baby girl right there.
The firstborn. Oh yeah,
that's baby girl.
Firstborn, and then and I don't think that they watching. They might know now, but I don't ever remember telling them, you know, some of the things that I went through like that for that simple reason, like. I know my dad would go, he would blank on us when we ain't clean the kitchen, so I can only imagine what he would do with someone else.
Take the trash out.
Right. He would really take the trash out. But I'm not justifying women that stay in domestic violence situations, but I think it's hardest when they have children. I didn't have any, thank God. But if it was that difficult for me, you know, filing reports and calling and, hey, oh yeah, how you doing? Oh, what you got? You know, like I'm dialing, they're patching me through, and I got to tell his friend what happened. I remember even one day, one of them came over and sat outside the house to make sure I didn't go anywhere. Literally just sat there. So I was, you know.
But your situation was tough because he's a cop, and like that's an underrated number throughout this whole country. I looked that up one day because I actually remember hearing something in my hometown about a cop beating his wife. Like he beat his wife down, but there was no coverage. Nothing was, you know what I mean? But we knew the family and we heard about it around the streets and stuff. And I'm trying to figure out what's going on because the smallest thing that happens around there would be, you know, everybody, it's everywhere. So it's just like, do they get special privileges and stuff like that? Because it's just like,
it's the blue code.
I guess that's what it's gotta be.
The guy who I got into that situation with, he was a Mason. And so, you know, I had heard a few things about Masons before, but, you know, my daddy's a military man. He was Marine Simplified, you know, now he's Army. My uncle was a Marine, so I have respect for the military man.
Right.
But this man showed me that, like, he had it in a sick way, like the power. It was just like, like before the police pulled up, he didn't leave. He wouldn't leave my property. He's just sitting there like, I'll wait on the police. I'm gonna put you in jail. Like he's as if you didn't just manhandle my friend.
Lakeview Terrace with Samuel Jackson. You ever seen that? Remember he said, here, call the police. Remember he like, go ahead. That's what it really be like. I feel like for
it
them.
is.
Like,
It is.
When the police came, I showed them the bottle that everything happened with. You know, they left the bottle right there on the ground. Didn't take any evidence. the report, we had witnesses who called for us. They didn't even take down their report.
I believe it. I absolutely believe it.
That situation is like,
I absolutely believe it. You know, so
still dealing with it.
but I will say this for women that are going through domestic violence, if you can't find immediate help, there's always a shelter, there's always a service, there's always someone, and they are trained to help you safely remove yourself from that situation. You are not so desperate that you have to stay with someone and allow them. You are worth so much more. The Bible says that we're fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are our works, and God knows that right well. So no matter what you're going through, like, there is a way out, but you've got to trust and believe in yourself enough and know that you're worth way more than being in a situation, not only that you may be experiencing, but you may be training your children. You may be training your daughter that this is a lifestyle. You may be training your son that this is what men do, and you don't want that to happen.
Yeah, I didn't.
it's funny. A message is like, I really don't want anybody in those type of situations to give up, because God, the Bible talks about how he won't put too much on us that, you know, we won't be able to bear. He knows us better than we know us. And that's why when you were making the statement before, when you were saying what you went through, and I'm like, oh my God, God know what he was doing for you not to have a me in your life, because I would have put myself in jail behind something like that.
Right.
Annie, I don't think twice. And that's why I know that I got favor on my life, because I'm here today. And I move, I act. Love is action. That's all I'm about. So I feel like God literally knows, like, so my friend at the time, she wasn't going to be able to take that situation. God knows what would have happened to her if I was not there. If y'all got into that, because she was the fault at the, you know, but he was drunk. So, and that was another thing. The police just, I told them he's drunk. They wouldn't even test him. I said, he's drunk. Here's the bottle that he's fighting about.
I would like, if there's anybody out there, one person that I'm looking for is a male. I never get to hear the side of a male that was once a domestic violent abuser. Like,
Abuser?
He was the abuser. I know that there's been redemption, and we never. It's kind of like being in prison. You're always a felon. Even if you were just with the wrong people at the wrong time, you're now labeled. But I know that as God redeems those that have been abused, what about the abusers? They also have an opportunity and a second chance. And I would love if you call the radio station at
877-342-7770.
I would love to hear from a male that was once the abuser, to hear your side of the story, to hear your voice. And it may have been a taught trait from your father or from your upbringing or something like that. And, you know, now you're doing something better with your life and teaching other women and other men how to do something different. That's who I'm looking for.
How can they get in contact with you?
You can get in contact with me, 315-719-5170, or my email, Akia, AKIA Jackson, 806@yahoo.com. Share your questions, thoughts. We're always here for you.
Family, you're tuned in to the Profit and Growth Hour here on WDRB Media, the voice
of the community.
Yes.
Now I put a whooping on the floor.
You feel me?
I was going to share my story about when I was the